Hey,
Hello, how's everybody?
this is Luna Works Odds and Ends coming at you.
Doesn't matter who's odd and who's in, it's both.
That's right. We're both odd and we're at the ends. So this is our second video, official video that we are doing. And this is, of course, in celebration and commemoration of our 40th anniversary, which
We celebrated on the 9th, and we have gone away to the beach, which is our favorite thing to do. And so that's where we've been for the last few
3
days.
Yeah.
Enjoying the beach, and it was breezy and cold and wonderful.
It's the thing that brought us together and still
Yeah.
keeps us together.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things. Oh, babe, it's okay. Let me put on some ocean sounds. That usually does it.
So this video is about how we came out to ourselves and how we met,
Yes.
because that is a story that we do continue to kind of tell on a regular basis. So what we did was,
But not in depth is
not in depth as
Yeah.
we're going to do that this time. But what we did was we decided to go ahead and film our individual experiences on how we met.
yes. And then talked about our how we felt as gay people individually.
Yes. And we found out that there were several similarities in our stories. So we tried to put each of our perspectives on a particular event together, so you'll see what she
Kinda
thought.
have
Yeah.
kind of.
It's like
Tell the
her and
story.
her,
Her and
her and her, her and her. So that's what you'll see. And then at the end of this,
We'll talk
about
our-
how we moved in.
Yes, and got together. A little
So while you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to subscribe to us and also ding the bell for notifications. And that is Luna Works Luna Works Odds and Ends. And we're going to do a short video on how we met, both Myra and I, back in 1981. Our story actually kind of starts in 1980. And further back than that, if you really want to think about, you know, how you actually kind of come out to yourself before you know anything. So as far as what I knew about lesbians, it was nothing but from really cheap dime store paperbacks. They weren't bad. It's just that that's pretty much the only thing that I ever read about them. So I didn't feel neither bad nor good about lesbians or gay people. I just kind of accepted people as people. Even way back I was really close to one girl when I was in junior high school, but we were really just friends. And I remember being fairly devastated when I moved away. And but the whole idea of loving someone, liking someone, being attracted to someone of the same gender, whether it would be male or female, really wasn't anything that really concerned me. The only thing I can come to close to that was the fact that I was such a geek, not interested in going out, brought up in a very, you know, relatively strict background. And so therefore, you know, no guys were really attracted to me anyway. So I said, okay, can a Baptist become a nun? After I graduated from college, I got a little job and still not into the dating scene. But things changed in my life when I met Myra.
Hey folks, this is Myra with LunaWorks Odds and Ends, and Yvonne and I decided that we would do our coming out first in a separate situation. So we'll have our own interpretations of our coming out and meeting. And then we'll get together and talk about our getting together and coming out. So this is more of a self-awareness. For me, that's what I think coming out is, being self-aware and accepting your own gayness. That's some of the first things you do. So what I believe, or what I thought gay was when I was about 14 years old, my older sister, who's a catalyst about a lot of things in my life, who moved me through life as an artist and introducing a lot of positive things to me, even in the gay world. But anyway, when I was a young kid, my sister, who was about 4 years older than I am, was going to see a movie. And we loved going to see a movie, my younger sister and I, to see a movie with my older sister. And she was also a cheerleader. And in this particular day, we're going to a movie, and she had to go to cheerleading practice all of a sudden. So instead of her not taking us, she took us to the movie. The movie was called Last House on the Left. Google it. And this will make sense. It might not make sense if you don't know the movie, but if you know the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, we go to this movie, and during that time, now my younger sister's 2 years younger than I am, so I'm about 14, she might be 12. And you could go into the theater, the movie just ran all day long. It's not like they cleared the theater and then the next group comes in. It was at a time when so we walked in early and saw the last 10 minutes of the movie, 15 minutes. And at that point, now my sister's gone, so it's myself and my younger sister. And at this point, I am mortified. But here's the thing. Because she dropped us off, she wasn't coming back until the movie was over because she had to take care of her cheerleading thing. So we literally had to watch the whole movie from the beginning to the part again. And let me tell you, leaving that movie was very important in my life because how I left that. At this time, I really didn't know the word gay. To me, it still meant happy. But lesbian, I knew. And this was a woman in this movie who was basically a slasher. And so that idea of lesbian stuck in my head. And we're talking maybe 1971, 70. Don't worry about the date. But not until things got better. And so my interpretation of that was, I am not that. That is not who I am. And so the idea of that I was a lesbian was out of the picture, because if that is what that is, that's not who I am. So I really just denied being a lesbian because there was no other thing I knew what lesbians were. Like I said, 13, 14 years old. Let's go to 1980. In 1980, I left VCU. Well, I left before that. I was working at an arts and crafts facility, and about that time I was actually managing the arts and crafts facility. And my sister, who has a degree in theater arts, moved close to home in Williamsburg had an acting job. And so she had this acting job, and she invited me a couple of times to come up to Williamsburg to see her and meet her friends. And because they were all artists, and she knew I was a nerd, and she invited me up. So when I was working at the arts and crafts facility, every Friday night, I get in the car, get in the Barracuda, and I'm boom, up to Williamsburg, hanging out with these weird, freaky, crazy, beautiful people. And I felt so comfortable in that space. And so I remember one day my sister told me that one of the women was a lesbian. And I was like, what? And so I focused on Joe. And what was more than just knowing that it was another lesbian that was not what I saw 10 years ago, was I found that she did everything that I loved. She was an artist and she played the guitar. I'm a major fan of the acoustic guitar, and she played the guitar. And I remember her playing for me Molly Malone. First off, I had never heard Molly Malone, but I became a big fan of that song and wanted to get the sheet music, wanted to play the guitar even more. But I was so excited about actually meeting other people, other artists, So this was every Friday, boom. During the weekday, I would go up to Williamsburg and just hang out. I would help them with their lines. I would hold their costumes. I remember following my sister down behind her and helping her with the lines and, running to get food or whatever I had to do. And it was just the fact that I was in the midst of these folks and very happy. Now, parallel, in 1980, 79, 80, Yvonne, now I'm working at this craft shop. Let me back up a little bit. I'm working at the craft shop, and I knew Yvonne's mom and her best friend before I met Yvonne, because Yvonne's parents were military, and I had a job first teaching officers' wives how to do pottery, how to, on the wheel, all of this, the clay, the whole thing. That's what I did in college. So anyway, I was teaching that, and from there I become the manager of the facility. And on the lower floor, on that same area, they also had molds and ceramic molds where you can pour the liquid clay in and the whole deal, and they come out with things, and they clean them and they paint them and the whole deal. And this is what Yvonne's mom and her friend will come to do all the time. So not knowing Yvonne at all. So now I started that in 77, I think. So in 1980, Yvonne graduates from college, and at the time I'm going to Old Dominion, and she graduates from college and she gets a job during the summer teaching arts and crafts upstairs. And that's how I actually met her.
How we met was actually through my mother. Myra was a manager ceramic shop, and my mom and her ride or die used to hang out down there. Now, the ceramic shop was a place where you went there and you poured liquid clay, which is called slip, into a big, huge mold that was made from plaster. And once it's set just a little, you pour the excess out, wait till it dries a little bit, pulls it apart, scrape all the little stuff, clean it up, paint it, fire it twice, and you have a lovely piece of anything ceramic. So my mom and her friend got really, really into that, and Myra was the manager there. The first time I saw her, she was hoisting this 20-something pound plaster mold, going down the store and said, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, I see your mom's here, da 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 da." And I'm going, who is this person? She was so infectiously happy and joyous. And I'm going, she's sure herself, or sure in herself, or she's just happy. You could tell that she was all about customer service, but she was genuinely friendly. So after going in and out of there for a while with mom, and then eventually getting a little part-time job there, we got kind of close. We found out we had the same interests. We found out that we liked the same artists. We were interested in art. We liked museums.
This time we had a encounter of any kind, other than hello, how you doing? Or she would be talking to her mom, and I'll have a conversation. Was I was taking a class actually at that time at also at a photography class. And so I had a photography classroom. So a lot of times after work, I'm doing my art projects, the whole deal for school and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I use a table in the studio upstairs. So, after work, I was busy doing homework. And so this one time, Yvonne came down from the arts and crafts to leave. And I was in the foyer trying to create a crime scene. Yes, I said a crime scene, which means I'm making blood, I'm finding a knife, and I needed somebody to lay down on the ground so I can put a white chalk mark around them. And that I was creating the office as a crime scene. And so Yvonne walks in at the time of me setting this up, and I had to come right out my face and say, do you mind laying on the floor? Or I can't remember if she laid on the floor or I laid on the floor, but I needed somebody to lay on the floor so somebody can draw an outline of it. She would have to tell you if she was the one on the floor or not. But anyway, I did the outline, and it was at that, and I kept thinking, I know this woman thinks I am a weirdo, but I needed this picture.
I think the weirdest thing that happened while we were there talking about art, she was actually going to school, I believe at ODU, and she was doing a lot of photography at the time. So her photography project was, she did a crime scene, and she asked me if I would lay on the ground so that she could draw a chalk line around me. And then we created a perfect color for blood, which is a combination of ketchup and soy sauce, so that when it shows up in a black and white photograph, it looks like blood. So I was cool with all of that because I'm an artist. Normally, any other person would have said, what the hell? And run screaming into the night. Not me. As a bit of a quirk in me. Because I was intrigued by this woman. And as we grew into talking to each other and finding out about each other, and then one crazy evening we were talking about growing up in Hampton, and me being a military brat. I actually was away for about 6 years in Massachusetts. We started talking about schools and whatever, and I said something about Jones Kindergarten. And she goes, Jones Kindergarten? And I went, yeah. She goes, over there off of, Pembroke, da-da. And I went, yeah. She goes, I went to Jones Kindergarten. So that quirked my interest, of course. And I said, I was in the Humpty Dumpty play. I was in the Humpty Dumpty play. And she said, I was in the Humpty Dumpty play too. And then she went on to talk about all of these other things that I remember this time when they had Santa Claus there. Well, Santa Claus evidently was her daddy. It's like this weird sense of 6 degrees of separation, because we later found out that when I was doing ballet, 2nd and 3rd grade, her older sister was also doing ballet. We were being taught by the same woman. When we had our recital, she was in the older group, her sister, and I was in the younger group.
So from that point on, I invited her to dinner a couple of times. We talked, and let me just tell you about my apartment at that time. I didn't really have furniture. I had a drawing table. I had a dining room table that was borrowed from my parents. It was a piece of an antique. and I had a queen size, no, I had a full size bed with a bed jacket on it. And if you don't know what bed jackets, you used to put your mattress in them and turn them into furniture, or just different colors. You didn't have to put sheets on them if you were entertaining. So I had that on my bed, and my living room sofa was a twin size bed with a blue bed jacket and tons of pillow. So this was just me. So when Yvonne would come over, didn't have enough tables for two, but I would cook chicken for her, roasted chicken, and we would have these long conversations. Now, as this friendship is evolving, because it's still, to me, kind of a acquaintance kind of thing. We're starting to become friends. And she lives with her parents. I'm in an apartment, and she starts talking about she's trying to get her own apartment. At the same time, I'm still running up to Williamsburg on Friday nights, hanging out with these folks. And so my focus is really not on a friendship or relationship with Yvonne, except when I'm at home and when we talk, it's like, oh, come on over, and those kind of things. It's very casual, I thought. But as we were having these dinners, they become less and less casual. So I guess it got weird for Yvonne that every Friday night I would go, hey, see you later, bye, I'm going up to Williamsburg. And I remember her asking me about, what do you do in Williamsburg? And so I explained it to her. I said, you should come. I'm excited, you know. Now, she was very hesitant, and I can't remember. I think she did come up there once, but I don't think she was impressed at all. Because she definitely wasn't excited as I was to be there. But what also was happening at the same time, I was understanding and being more enlightened about lesbians from my experience being up there hanging out with these artists, that they were not slashers and they were not killers, and that they were just regular people and loved and hurt just like everybody else. And when I realized that and came to that understanding, that that whole thing of that negativeness about lesbians had kind of lifted away. It was just a bad dream all of a sudden. And even after that, I still have moments when I will see images of that still flashing, you know, because it affected me that much. But now I have a new experience of people who love each other, are happy. It didn't matter if you were straight or gay. It didn't matter. They were artists, you know. I enjoyed them being artists, you know, singing and the whole deal. And I fit very well. So, but once I became okay with letting that negativeness go, and that it was okay to maybe, I could be maybe lesbian. So what that did for me, that shell of that concern or an emotion upbringing came up, and then I noticed Yvonne all of a sudden. I noticed her being there. And then it became more of an emotional experience knowing her. And I remember talking to a coworker, because here's Yvonne actually at this point. Yvonne's trying to find an apartment, and I'm in an apartment. And at the same time, my rent's about to go up. And all of a sudden went like, boom, won't you ask Yvonne to move into a 2-bedroom in the complex? And she didn't have to move into this place she was going to move in, which I think was a crime scene all the way around. So she laughed about it. She goes, I don't remember that. I said, yeah, it was, that apartment complex was in the news all the time. So I thought, now I know at this point I'm starting to feel something towards Yvonne. And to the point that I became careless emotionally, I think. When I say that, I remember calling her at the craft shop and asking her, asking them if she was there, and which they didn't. And then I actually eventually called Yvonne. Well, no, I actually asked a coworker. I think I explained it to it. My rent's going up, and Yvonne's looking for an apartment. You think it'd be a good idea to ask her if we could move in? Just, just straight out ask another person who works there that question, and they thought, yeah, that makes sense, which was enough for me to go and say, well, I'm going to ask her. Okay, now, knowing all this is driven by what is some emotional stuff that I'm very unfamiliar with. So I called Yvonne up and asked, hey, Yvonne, I was thinking, I know you're looking for an apartment, but what do you think about moving in that we'll move into my complex? Because my rent's going up, I go through the whole scenario, and we can do a 2-bedroom and it still be cheaper than you have an apartment and I'm having an apartment. We could share now. And so this is my conversation to Yvonne over the phone. And the silence went close, and I'm like, are you there? And she says, let me think about that. So, so let me think about that to me meant you're going to call me later, the next day, not a week later. So you can imagine a week later, then I'm like freaking out.
After talking and going out to art events and everything, I was of a mind to start the process of moving out of my parents' house. And that was a hard move. That was a real hard move. And then Christmas rolled around, and Myra and I had gotten really close enough that I actually, and I don't do this just everybody, I got a chambray shirt her size and hand embroidered, filled in a moon with a rainbow going through it with her name across the top. And this is even before rainbows were even associated with gay folk. And we weren't even thinking on that realm at that point. So the 1st of January, or somewhere thereabouts, she was also thinking about her rent going up, and then possibly, asking me to move in and get a 2-bedroom. So she asked me, and I told her that I would have to think about it. And it wasn't until a long time after we had gotten together that I told her why it took me so long to answer her question. It was because I was having feelings for her, and I was not sure of how I was going to handle it. So eventually, after several weeks, and I said yes.
Because, is she horrified by the idea, or what is going on? So, finally, I called her again after a week and asked the question. Because now, I'm not move in together. Honestly, I'm not even thinking about the gay thing in the front in my head. But I know there's some sort of emotional, and I'm thinking it's just friendship, because I had not had them. And so I'm saying to her, I called you last week and asked you about moving in, and what do you think? I haven't gotten your answer, and I really need to make some decisions, because I need to figure out what I'm going to do. Move out of this complex or whatever the scenario was. And she says to me again, let me call you right back. I was like, whoa. I said, right. She goes, no, I'll call you. I said, literally right back. And what she did, she didn't wait a week, but she took her a little time, and she called back, and she said yes. And what was hilarious about when she calls back, she says, yes, but we have to have furniture. I thought, Okay, no problem.
But I had some caveats. First of all, her apartment, everything was on the floor. She had no sofa. She had no bed. Basically, her bed was a mattress on the floor, which is not unusual for the 80s, and people did that shit all the time. But she also did not have any living room furniture other than the beanbag and I think another mattress or something on the floor. And this long cigar type thing, which was like another story all by itself. So I said, I need to buy some furniture. And I guess she was cool with that because I was bringing the furniture. I had saved up some money and everything, and we got the furniture. We moved in.
Furniture. So that was the first connection with Yvonne and us becoming roommates, and that was like in I moved in like February of 1981, and she didn't move in until March because she had to get furniture. She had a dowry. She had to get furniture, and so I remember the day that her furniture came. Her parents came over to see the furniture. It was actually a day I was off anyway, and so we sat and waited. And fortunately, I knew Mrs. Harris, so it wasn't that odd. It was just odd that she was moving in with me. And so we waited for the furniture. The furniture came, they left, and we had furniture. I mean, she had a full living room suite. She had a four-posted bed. I mean, it was like dream girls thing, and my room was, the mattress on the floor. I have two mattresses at that point because the living room mattress and my bedroom mattress were in the same room. So, because we had furniture, didn't need the beds. So that was a beginning of how we met each other and how we became roommates. We'll talk in just a second.
We did a lot of listening to music and drinking a lot of wine, and that's a segment all together right there. And our feelings for each other grew. I mean, we actually had one thing that we can always say, or we've been always asked, what has kept us together and what has brought us together. And the one thing that we both have said to everybody is we were friends first before we were lovers. We knew each other up here and what we liked to do and what our interests were. And that's where the similarities grew into a more emotional love. So that being said, that's kind of the end of my side of the story, and then we'll go from there.
So we moved in. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, especially after the weeks, and we both explained our angst during that time period on an individual, because it seems that my angst caused her angst. Yeah, I'm sorry.
40 years. It's okay. That's how it works.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, there's
yes. So there was a cause and effect there, but we moved in.
A couple of things that happened prior to us actually moving in are. We talk about this later because at the time of all the things we used to do before, we never considered it dating. And it's more
dating and courting. Same thing. Yeah,
It was the courting kind of thing, but that wasn't really in our head. And our head was like, this person is cool. I want to go hang out. I want to go talk to her, and so on and so forth. And we would do some great things together. But one of the first things we ever did, and it wasn't really us doing it.
Oh, yeah.
It was my sister playing, as we found out later, was being more of a matchmaker because she knew I was clueless.
Matchmaker again.
She knew I was clueless. But all of a sudden, when I visit my parents and she was at home, I would talk about Yvonne, just like this person, and at the time, I never talked about anybody, and that was
An anomaly.
Yeah, that was something very new for me. Even at 23, I never talked about anything. I was never excited about any individual or, and so I would talk. I'm not knowing what that meant, but. So my sister, you know, you love all the stuff your big sister do, and she was a fan of the artist Joan Armatrading.
And you had a couple of her albums, because that's how
Well-
I learned about her.
Well, she's the one who got me involved in Joan Armatrading. So she knew I loved Joan Armatrading. She told me, she goes, you know, I got tickets to go to see Joan Armatrading. And she goes, would you like to go? And I was like, oh my God, yes, I would love to go. Go to, you know, go to a concert with your sister, your older sister, who's cool, you know, and who's an artist and who's a theater, you know, major and who's doing it. And I thought it was a great idea. And so she offered this before. And then when we get there, before we get together, she asked me, would you like to
Take your friend.
take your friend, Yvonne? And I was like, what? I was like, who? What? Yeah. Oh. So this is during that time that I was not seeing Yvonne as in my head as being external and being, but I'm still enjoying her company and still having fun, but I have not connected that as something. But obviously my older sister felt that was different.
I told you, everybody knew before you did.
I know. So anyway, I said, sure, I'll ask her. So I asked Yvonne to come to the concert. And so the day that we were all going to the concert, we were at my parents' house and about to leave. And my father goes, so where are you guys going? And we told him we're going to the Armatrading concert. And it was over in Norfolk. I think it was Virginia Beach.
Yeah, one of them.
One of those concerts over there. We go to the concert. And so the three of us are going in, and I like sitting on the end. And I'm waiting for Yvonne and Monty to go into the row. And my sister stops me and she says, no, you go first. I'm like, really? Why am I going first? And Yvonne's just sitting down and, you know, sitting at the chair. And so I sat there. And that took me several minutes to be okay with, and I don't know if I was embarrassed, like
Why were you embarrassed?
because I think my sister thought something.
You actually thought that at that moment.
Yes, I thought my sister thought, because she was making a point. You didn't hear that, but she was saying to me, she goes, go and sit next to her. And I'm like, really? What? Because remember we were talking that we were more like, when we were talking earlier about, I was probably closer to the thing of when when little girls hit boys.
Oh yeah, like, oh, I like you.
Yeah, and I didn't want to admit that or anything. And here's my sister calling me out.
Calling you out, okay.
That's what we were.
So that was basically our kind of our first official date.
Yeah, that wasn't.
That really wasn't a date, you know.
But after that, we did start.
Yeah, but what's funny is it was not until years later we were sitting there talking about it. Well, you know, Monty set us up on our first date.
She did.
Like real date.
Yeah.
We gone out to dinner, gone to McDonald's, and gone some shit, something like that, but never on a real date. And I think that was probably the fact that we had certain interests, you know, in the arts, in music, and things of that sort, brought us together. I mean, we listened to things like, you know, Earl Klug and Al Jarreau. Oh my God, Al Jarreau.
Yeah.
She introduced me to Al Jarreau. I had never heard about this man. And his music was so uplifting and just
I was way into lyrics, and because the lyrics were express my emotional self better than I could sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I would actually play music for Yvonne instead of saying things to Yvonne.
Okay, let me
James Taylor.
James Taylor, called me up. I think I may have been
So
at work.
bad.
And
someone right was at 40.
Yeah.
We're still
yeah. And she gets on the phone. She goes, "I want to play something for you." And I went, "Okay."
Yeah.
And it was James Taylor, "You Got a Friend." And it was so cute. And I went, "Thank you." And then I hung up and I went, "That was weird, but that was so cute."
God.
And I don't
geeky thing to do.
It was a
very
very geeky,
very nerdy.
Very nerdy.
Yeah,
Came out to ourselves.
We kind of tripped into the relationship.
Literally tripped into the relationship. You know, like because we were clumsy anyway. So
and we were only months apart. We're only months apart in age.
Right.
So our awkwardness was going on at the same time. And but different.
But
I thought Yvonne was, very talented. Everything was, I mean, if you know Yvonne, you know she's talented, but I was just amazed at her talent, and I was also amazed at her brain. The stuff that she absorbs in her head, to me, was amazing. And I'm going like, wow, that is all up in there, just sitting, waiting for her to spew it out. So I could just listen to her forever.
She loved me for my brain.
When we started becoming more an emotional couple, the things we had more tender moments.
It wasn't. We would sit and do movies like close together, like just kind of like
sitting, like
playing, but close together.
Like nothing. That was it. Just sitting. And just like having a friend and just being okay with yourself. Matter of fact, we never even talked about gay and lesbian. I don't think.
Not really.
We never did. And
it was one of those under the water,
because nobody
circling like a shark. Don't jump in the water.
No, I think if people were looking in to us, and one of those movies like, Jesus Christ, do it already.
Lord have mercy. Just
tell her or whatever. The only dating I have done was with you.
That is right.
Yeah.
Damn Skippy. So,
I'm you.
Yes, you are.
So anyway,
that's kind of how we want to
the events of
the moving in, getting to know each other, and all of those things.
Yeah, lots of
good.
So we would love to know how your life
was impacted upon
your coming out, and what was the catalyst of that. Was it just your awareness? Was an experience? Was you got literally hit over the head, or your mom told you, or your sister told you, or any of those things? What was your self coming out? How you came out, and not as much. And if you came out as we did together, kind of. That would be kind of cool. We don't know. We don't hear too many people have been couples from day one, and you're coming out. So anyway, hit the
subscribe button, comment, doorbell,
and
see the notification.
And see us next time. And we will have probably talk about the clubs.
We'll talk about the clubs maybe.
Yeah. We're going to talk about our first club. That's probably our next coming out. We'll talk about the clubs. More like from Norfolk and Hampton to D.C. And as you said.
And everything in between.
Yeah, which wasn't much.
Okay. So we're signing off. This is Luna Works.
Odds and Ends.